Hey guys, Whitney here. Welcome to the Passive Investing Made Simple Masterclass. I do this show live every Tuesday to help you learn the ins and outs of passive investing. And so if you haven't done so already, make sure to check out passiveinvestingwithwhitney.com. There, I've got some free goodies for you on how to get started into passive investing. Even if you're a seasoned investor, you can use some of those checklists and tools there to help you scale your real estate portfolios. You can also see our open deals and of course, you can check out, grab some time with me and we can talk about all things passive real estate. So anyways, I just want to thank you guys for joining on this Tuesday. Apologies. We've had quite the trip with Zoom in the past 5 minutes. So hopefully everybody is able to join us right now. But I am so excited to welcome a good friend of mine, somebody that I've known for the past couple of years here in a group called Go Abundance Women, Karen Briscoe. Karen, welcome to the show.
Yay, yay. Thank you for having me. And yes, technology decides to update the moment I click in. So there we go. But we're here now. That's the important thing. And thrilled to be a part of your community and adding value where I can.
Excellent. Well, Karen, I'm so excited to dive into the 5 minute success or real estate success in 5 minutes a day. You wrote a book over this, actually a couple different books. But let's first start off with like just who you are, how you got into real estate, and how did this book concept come about?
So I started out in dirt, actually, as a real estate developer out of college in Texas. And my husband's career took us to the DC metro region. We're now known as the DMV. I don't know who thought that was a great idea, but DC, suburban Maryland, Northern Virginia. We're in the Northern Virginia side. I think HQ2, Pentagon. And his career, based here, I went back into commercial real estate. And so I worked for Nextel, had the sales engineering warehouse offices. Honestly, once you've seen one, you've seen them all. It felt very boring and rote. And so I had my real estate license, and someone said, well, why don't you try residential? And I don't know about you, but the commercial side kind of looks at residential like it's all the fluffy people, and and then the commercial side's all the hard skills, the market knowledge, strategy, negotiations. Well, what I found is I had a great, I had both sides, and really found my niche, and met with a lot of success. And when that happens, people notice, and so that led me to becoming partners with a top agent. She was number 10 in the nation at the time. So grew the business. Fast forward to '08, those of you that were in real estate then, well, really, if you were anywhere, you knew that the market crashed. The financial markets crashed, the markets crashed. And what happened for me, though, is my business partner also died. So I had a significant personal event along with all of this other crashing around me. So then I set about rebuilding. I'm resilient, and I had uh, brought on my current business partner, Lizzie Conroy, joined me in '09. And so it took a number of years to get back up to where it was in the heyday. We sell about 100 million in Northern Virginia. Our average sales price is over $1 million. So we deal with a very sophisticated clientele, and you can do the math. So the what happened was, as I was meeting with more success, people said, well, how do you do it? And I started doing a lot of training and coaching and speaking, and my stories really resonated with people. So that led to many people saying I should write a book. So that was that journey took me, and you've written books, so you know where books take you. It's taken me so many places. And the podcast came out of the book because I started being asked to be guests on other podcasts, webinars, speaking. Those kind of opportunities kept increasing. And then that led to me going, oh, well, I can be on the other side of the mic and have a podcast. So we're doing in a way, a pod swap. We're swapping other sides of the mic. I've had you as a guest on the 5 Minutes of Best podcast, and I'm thrilled to be here today.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us, Karen, your evolution into active side of real estate. Now, most of the listeners here are on the passive side. So when you say the other side of the mic, it's also kind of the other side of the coin when it comes to real estate investing. And you and I both know, like you shared with me, you've been a passive investor too. And so when we were talking about the real estate success in 5 minutes a day, and we were walking through the various steps here on your podcast, I was like, ding, ding, this actual structure can help passive investors scale their portfolio as well. Because, one of the reasons why passive investors get involved in passive real estate versus active is that they have limited time. Maybe they have a growing business. Maybe they are, have a higher and better use in their time. Maybe they're a doctor or a lawyer, or engineer, tech worker, something like that. And so really they're already time strapped. How can they find all these amazing deals to invest in? 4 or 5 years ago, there are operators everywhere. There were a ton of great deals everywhere. These days, you have to be so much more stringent on who you invest with, what kind of deal that you go into. And so I wanted to arm people, especially those people who are time strapped, with a process. And I really loved your process here. So let's just start off my first question. Like, what is the 5 minutes a day real estate success model? Like, what are the 5 steps that you lay out for people?
Well, so much of what you shared came out of the fact that one of the things I heard over and over again when I would be coaching and speaking on personal and business development was that I didn't have time. And it was actually Einstein that said time is relative because, what is, if you're in traffic or in a boring webinar or a Zoom meeting, time is going to stand still. But if you're doing something you're passionate or love and want to do it with people you want to do it with, then time flies by. So it's relative. So when people would say that to me, I said, well, do you have 5 minutes a day? Because that is a way, it's known as Parkinson's law. So limiting and restricting time can actually help people be more effective and efficient. And I can just give you an example. The day before you're getting ready to travel and go on vacation, how many things do you get done? So you've constrained time. So the idea of the success in 5 minutes a day is based on that principle. And the book itself is set up as a daily reader. So it's set up so that every day you read one of the principles with a takeaway. And that builds knowledge. It can then have several positive effects. One can be, just the snowball effect, right? It builds on it. Sometimes it's the domino, like the one thing, it'll knock over a bunch of dominoes. Sometimes it's exponential. Sometimes it's more of a ripple, like one thing will kind of like flow out to other things. So, I mean, you can do this with really any knowledge, and but it's when it's applied is when it goes from being, education and entertainment to actually, wisdom and implementation. So that's one of the benefits and beauty of this, what I call the delivery system of being every day. Now, again, you could take any book and do the same, but it's set up that way. So when I came up with this idea, when it came to me, I was talking to my publisher and he said, well, yeah, it's a great idea, but it needs to have a structure, as you said, because every day being different keeps people interested, and particularly salespeople who kind of tend to be always off on the next great, book or concept or training or whatever. But at the same time, they're fundamentals to success. And that's where, when you were, I guess, on the 5 Minute Success podcast, there are 4 building blocks, if you will, of success that from the 400 plus people I've talked to as guests on the podcast, they've all followed these basic building blocks, these basic principles in their journey, their success journey, in both their business and their life. It's just they didn't think about it this way. But thinking about it this way helps to inform, it helps give structure so that then you can take those models and apply them. So that's how the concept and the idea came about, and we can certainly go into those 4 key concepts.
I love how you lay this out, and we'll go into the 4 key concepts because these are, when you know what to do, when you have a plan. I just got off the phone with a coaching client, I was like, one of the issues here is, the vision. Okay, all the various steps to get there. The problem is that you haven't grouped them together to where they're actionable. And this is what I really love about the 5-minute success model, is that you boil it down to 4 key actions. And so really everything, all those like little to-dos fit in one of these 4 buckets, and you know what you're trying to achieve with those buckets. And so even though that, and I guess, what I'm trying to get to, even though I know that you developed this for your particular business and also for other realtors' business, is that I think passive investors really struggle with this too, is that they're seeing all these things that they have to do as like a laundry list in order to get in a deal. I got to start jumping on the internet to find operators. Then I got to get on the phone. Then I got to vet them. Then I got to look at the information. Then I got to look at this. They're seeing this as a laundry list, when really, if you can boil it down to these core 4 actions that you're trying to achieve, if you can check those buckets, I think that's the brilliant part. So let's dive into this. What's the first concept here, the first bucket that people should be focusing on?
Well, the reason why it's the first is because without it, really nothing else will happen. And it's what I call commit to get leads. So that, different businesses, different types of industry organizations call it different things. Some people call it business development. Some people call it prospecting. Some people call it lead generation. In the passive investing, what I've discovered in having conversations and what I've done as well for my own passive investing is it really usually 2 different types of needs or arenas in that. One is the deals and one is the money. And they're both equally important. I mean, without the money, there will be no deals. And without the deals, there will be, no need for the money. So what I find is that a system is really key for this, because many, as you said, many people, it's easy to go down the rabbit trails or rabbit holes and spend a lot of time on things that aren't going to have the impact. And so, there's lots of great prospecting tools out there. I'm not necessarily going to cover them here, but the idea is that is a commitment, because again, nothing happens until that happens. And the reason why I use the word commitment is because many people, that means that they're going to put that level of backing or energy or time into it. And it really should happen before anything else happens. What often happens with people is that they'll get busy with the other aspects, which all have value and are important. But again, until this happens, nothing else happens. So that's why it's the first one. And again, that's why it's commit to get leads.
So what have you done personally to commit to get those deal leads in your inbox?
Well, so I have found some people are really believe in time blocking. And again, I've become somewhat of a time guru over the last 7.5 years. So I'm like, time is a creative thing, remember? So the other thing I found about people in time is that if it's not used effectively or efficiently, it really doesn't matter how much time you spend, right? It matters that you actually accomplish something. And so I have found, for my success and the people I coach, is what I call activity blocking. And that is, you commit to a certain number of contacts. So if, there are people that, deal sources or, different places that you go to look for deals, be it, either you're in networking groups or, the internet or whatever it is that you're getting your deals from, same with money, that you commit to making a certain number of contacts. And that can be on a daily basis, it can be a weekly basis. But the idea is that you will stay consistent. It's kind of like dollar cost averaging, right? I mean, the idea is as you put into the funnel, you start at the top with what you're committing to do. And one of the benefits to doing that is that you will then be able to track it, because you'll know what happens at the beginning of the line, the beginning of the funnel. And you can then adjust. So if you're seeing that you're not having the flow you want and you want to increase the flow, then you increase it at that place. If you're finding you've got too much flow, then you have options. I mean, you can refer it out. You can partner with someone else. You can cherry pick. You can top grade. You have all these options if you have too many deals. You can also just slow down your lead generation. I would say though that anybody who wants to stay in business, that you don't stop. Because what I see happen with people is they stop, they get busy and they stop. And that is stops the flow. If you're kind of a little woo-woo, and think about, law of attraction and manifestation, those kind of things. I have found that when I am active in the business and putting out that energy, then it comes to me. And as soon as I stop, then it stops. It's like, I don't know, the universe knows I've got too much going on. And so it stops sending it to me. So I believe firmly in that is, again, a commitment, and that you don't stop, because then you might miss the best deal by that. I don't know what your experience is, Whitney, but that's what I found.
Well, I think just to kind of bring this down to this first concept, right? Because there's three more that we want to dive into, but this first concept down to tactical action, the way I would implement that, as a passive investor, especially if I'm starting off, I need operators. I need to know, love, and trust the operator. The operator is going to have the deal flow for me, because that's the whole point. I'm trying to outsource that. So can I find and get on a phone call with 2 operators a week, or even 1? If I got on a phone call, spent 20 minutes, 2 phone calls, 20 minutes over my lunch hour or before work or right after work with an operator, 2 a week, did that weekly for a year, that's 104 operators. I can do math, guys. That's 104 operators on my list now. Not to say that I'm going to do business with 104. Maybe only 20% of those actually match my goals, my risk, my timeline. But I'm getting now deals from 20 of those operators. That's huge. Let's say you only did 1 call a week and you only got 10 powerful operators that are feeding these deals. That is an incredible amount of deal flow to look at. And that is, when I look at my schedule, I keep track of this. I'm on the other end of this as
So you track it. So you
yeah.
can see what level of effort or whatever commitment then will lead to business. And when people say, well, I want to increase my business, well, that's where I find you have to increase your activity. And you may have to make much of an adjustment. But that's where you can make the most impact. And I think it can be, as I say, as little as, I think that if it's 1 a week, then commit to it. But it's like you commit to it, because what often happens, as I mentioned, is people then will get distracted and start doing other things, and then they'll no longer be doing that, and then they try to start it back up again, and that's harder. You're going to gain momentum. You're going to learn a lot by every time you make that call. That will help improve it'll help you improve your next aspect to the 5-minute success, which is you want to go into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, consult to sell. So this is the whole conversion process. Some people call it conversion, but it's taking the deal so that it actually is to, selecting the operator, getting the deal sheet, raising the capital, funding it, and then getting it into place. And that is a big category, and it is absolutely necessary, because until you do that, again, you don't have a business. You have, the idea of a business, and at some point you have to make money, or the IRS doesn't consider it a business. So there has to be a transaction. And, we talked about how this applies, really very universally. At dentists, they have to have patients, they do, business development, and then they have a patient, and the patient, what they do is x-rays and cleaning teeth and that kind of thing. So everybody does this. So what it is for the passive investing is, bringing in the first getting the deal under contract, obviously, and doing the due diligence, and then the actual funding of it, and the closing of it. But the part that I really find to be so important is, I think Many people miss the part where this is actually, there's the negotiations, there's a strategy, there's the market knowledge. Now, perhaps that's all being done by your operator, but you're still going to go through that due diligence evaluation phase as well.
Very important, very important. We talk a lot about due diligence here, and we've been running our passive investing made simple boot camps where you can learn those skills on how to vet operators, markets, deals, make sure that you know how to track your portfolio and make sure it stays aligned to your goals. So make sure you check out those skills boot camps that are posted on our YouTube page as well. So we've got commit to leads, consult to sell. What is the third step?
So what often happens with, many businesses, people, sales, passive investors is they get a deal and they get it in place, they close on it, and then they wake up the next morning and they start the process all over again. And so they oftentimes will end up on, some people use the analogy of the roller coaster, right? So you'll what to do to take it to the next level so you're not only as good as your next deal is to what I call connect to build and grow. And that's the place where you focus on scale, leverage, systems. Because if you want to go beyond a one-hit wonder or a two-hit wonder, you have to be able to manage at a level to sustain success. Because that's where a lot of people, again, they can do it once or twice, but to really build a portfolio that's going to sustain success, that's where this connect, build, and grow. And leverage is huge. This is a great opportunity for leverage that you're offering your community, and the leverage of knowledge, leverage of relationships, leverage of so much. So that is a key one. Building for scale. So what it takes to do one is different than 10, and that. And the systems, because again, to scale and create leverage, you really have to have systems. So that's where that is a key component to the 5-minute success principles.
I love that because I see, passive investors, really struggle. They get into like their first 1 to 5 deals. It's really easy to manage. They are, because they just get monthly communication in their inbox. They're looking at the profit and loss statement. They're working with maybe a core group of like maybe, over 5 deals to maybe 3 operators. And so it's really not that stressful for them. But, for me, and for a lot of investors I know, we're over 50 deals. So just think about that. How many deals is that? Right, guys, it's tax time right now. K1s. How many K1s do I have coming in? I am no longer doing my taxes. Those days are gone. I have like an amazing accountant. I'm farming that out. I have a VA now that helps me organize my, a regular communication. Yes, I do leverage a VA to help me with that. But I have these systems in place, and it can be really as simple as leveraging your inbox and making sure you've got tags in your inbox and you're bucketing all of your operator. Maybe the tags are by operator, or maybe they're by investment class, or maybe even just when they're coming in during the month. You just bucket all your, this is one thing I learned early, bucket all your communication when it comes in. Make sure you read that on a monthly basis. Review the financial reports that you're getting in case you have questions. Do you have a system in place to make sure all of your distributions are hitting the right bank accounts, especially upon initial investment? And so sometimes the system, and this is the most brilliant thing, can just be a simple checklist.
Oh, I'm a firm believer in the checklist manifesto. And the thing is if you'll build it when you're at the 1 or 2 or 5, 10, you still may have to adjust for larger scale, but at the same time, you will build in the structure that will help you to go to that next level. And absolutely, they say the devil's in the details for a reason, because that's what trips people up. And so, I would say, starting with systems is really a great place to start, because people sometimes will say, oh, I can't afford a V, I can't all this. And I'm like, you can make a lot of progress really fast with, an Excel spreadsheet. So, and a checklist. And I'm sure you have great resources. Obviously you have your boot camp that people can, I'm sure, get a lot of great ideas on.
Yeah, we go through a whole boot camp on how to track your portfolio and how to spin it and look at what's your exposure versus operator market. How much do you have invested in each deal? Because as you scale, like when you have just like, a handful of investments under your belt, you know what you have. Guys, and this is an amazing place to be in, but when you have like 50, 60, 70 deals under your belt, you're kind of going, what am I invested in? How much do I have in each market? Like those numbers, you got to have a place to capture all that information. So I teach people how to track that so they can spin that data for themselves. And we're actually tracking it at the time you place the investment. That is one of the beauty parts of the steps. We're making sure I teach people, actually, let's implement the tracking at the time you close. So it's part of your closing process, part of your investing process. Now, Karen, I'm really interested. What is bucket number 4 here?
Well, actually, it surrounds it. If you were to think of a Venn diagram, so those 3 are in Venn diagram, and then what is something surrounding it. And you actually opened with this, so this is perfect. So it's success, thinking, activities, and vision. So the idea is you start with the vision. Like you have a vision that you want to build your passive investing portfolio. And then you think about how to do it. Like you just talked about all the ways you can think about how you can build this portfolio and set it up for success in the beginning. It requires action. That's the part I hear a lot of people who speak on success principles, and I feel like they often think it's just going to happen because you think about it, you have a vision for it, you think about it. So there is the action in between, and the reason why this is one of the the surrounding principles is because it applies to everything, right? I mean, it applies to your commitment to lead generation. It applies to your consult to sell, your conversion, your actual transactional aspect of the business, and then it applies to your connecting and building, growing the business. It's integral to all of those things, because as you do all of them, you want to have a vision for it, think about how to do it, and then take the action steps to put it into practice.
Yeah, I love that. And I really see that, how you explained it is a way of connecting at the different levels of investing, right? So when an investor is getting started, they should understand their goals, their risk, and timeline, right? That's kind of the first overarching vision. And, what is it they need their portfolio to do for them? Now they're going to go commit to get leads, commit to find the operators and the deals that match that vision. But what I hear you saying that's a little bit different, maybe it's just slight nuance on what I teach people here, is that as they continue to grow the business, they need to make sure that how they're scaling their portfolio continues to reconnect back to their original vision, right? Bring it full circle. And so we do that a little bit in the tracking the portfolio. We're constantly double checking that, but I love the fact that you're even bringing it back to the vision. I think of this with the active real estate investor. Somebody who starts off, they get really excited about real estate. They understand the tax power of real estate. They get it. They buy a rental property, or maybe they go out and buy a property that they can fix and flip. And then they get really enamored by the money, but they forgot to do that visioning. And then 5 years later, they pick their head up and they're all over the board with their investments. They're all over the board with their time. And they were like, wait a second, all this money, all this income was supposed to give me time freedom. And it's doing anything but that. So I love the fact that we're constantly double checking that vision and coming back to that.
And, I know this sometimes is thought of as a, people that are highly driven, highly successful, or is moving the goalpost. So, oh my God, now I want, to expand my portfolio to 50 doors or whatever. I can share kind of both sides to that. One side is, staying true to your vision, has value because, then you know that you've when you're achieving it. I also say though, I've gotten into some investing, and I'm sure you may have had this experience too. And you're like, wow, that was a great learning experience. I'm going to go, maybe go into another arena. This isn't the space for me. Or maybe you decide that's your capacity for that type of investing, and you want to learn, another component to investing. Maybe you want to, expand into another arena, and, maybe you want to go from multifamily to, storage or car washes or whatever. And so I would say that, yes, be true to your school, be true to your vision, while at the same time, I think it's a both and where you're looking for how you could learn, grow, and improve yourself and your business. Because when I mentioned to you how the book has taken me on a journey, and I think you've had, kind of a similar, not the exact journey, but we've had a journey where I didn't know where my book was going to take me. It took me to meeting Hal Elrod. I'd speak on stage with him, and it took me to starting a podcast and then becoming a part of GoBundance. And it's taken me a lot of places I couldn't have had a vision for. I had a vision for growing and learning and becoming better than before. And that vision has expanded again into places that I couldn't have if you would have asked me 7 years ago when I wrote the book, what would I be doing 7 years later? This would not have been on it. But it's exciting. I love it.
Awesome. Well, Karen, I want to make sure we leave plenty of time for our Ask Me Anything session after our live recording. But how can people find out more about you and connect with you?
So the 5-minute success is the number 5, which makes it easy. So be sure and check out the podcast, because I think your episode is coming up pretty quick. And there's other great guests in all sorts of arenas, predominantly real estate, but all sorts of arenas in real estate, and authors and coaches and that kind of thing. And I am offering an opportunity if somebody wants to go deeper with me and have a complimentary coaching session to see if you would want to work together. And the real estate side, the active real estate side, if you are in the DMV or you know somebody in the DMV, the great thing is if you Google Karen Briscoe, you will find me.
Awesome. Karen, what is the one thing that you want to leave people with today before we wrap up?
Oh, well, if I can do it, you can too. And to start today.
Excellent. Okay, Karen, thank you so much for spending your time with us here today, and gifting us with your knowledge and expertise.